for questions. So with that, we are going to move on to our next project, which is the City of Durham Fire Station, number 17, with Brian Griffith and Blair Pittman. Brian and Blair, are you with us?
Yes, we are.
Fantastic.
Good morning, everyone. First off, I'd like to thank the Green Building Council for giving us the opportunity to present this project. We're very proud of this station, and believe the City of Durham and Durham County are very proud of this station. So it's our honor to present it. So what we have here is the Durham Fire Station number 17 and the Durham County EMS station. So they are co-branded. This was designed and developed through Bobbitt Design Build with our sister company, Bobbitt A&E. So Brian Griffith, who is the studio principal with Bobbitt A&E, is also here to facilitate this discussion. As with any successful project, we partnered with a team, most important of which was the City of Durham General Services. So that with the design build project, having that partner and having that open communication is always important. But with a LEED certified project, it's overly important because, as previously noted, a lot of the discussions and a lot of the requirements have to be developed early, and the ramifications of potential scheduling costs have to be discussed early. So we were able to work with General Services and had a great open communication to achieve that. As I noted, Bobbitt A&E was the architect for this project. Our superintendent, who, if anyone has gone through certification, you know, is integral to making these projects happen on the construction side. It's one thing to have a good design. It's another thing to get it in place in the field. That was Rory Williams with Bobbitt Construction. Interior design was through Raleigh Design Associates. Crenshaw Consulting was our PME engineer. Structural was through Lynch Mikens. Again, site planning through Bobbitt Design Build. We partnered with CLH Design for the landscape architecture, and our commissioning was with MVP Engineering. Sorry about that. Next, please. So this project was on a parcel dedicated from a local residential developer. As part of his approval process, due to his density, he needed a fire station in the region. So he dedicated the site to the city, but what that did was sort of set the criteria for a lot of the LEED process that we had to work through. So the design and development of the site did not go through a due diligence process of finding the best site. It worked solely with what was given to us. It is the first municipal design build project in the City of Durham. So that put a lot of focus on how we were going to develop it and what we could bring to the table. So we believe they were very pleased with us. They came to us with a goal of LEED Silver. And as we worked through the design and worked through the different criteria, upped that goal to gold. So that was a challenge for us. We were able to meet it, but it did take coordination and hard work to get there. So some of the highlights, as we noted, was the change in goal from silver to gold. So that a lot of that had to do with photometrics. So we had anticipated in our design from orientation and building structure to allow for solar, but we did not have the budget for it until we moved through all the way through design and was able to show savings while still meeting the goal of silver and saving money, which allowed us to get to the gold goal of gold, pardon me. Sort of another highlight to this project was the scope increase after awarding the project to us. So as I noted, there was a residential developer that dedicated this land, and as part of that, he had included providing utility services to the property and any required widening for the entry road. After we were awarded the project, we were asked if we could take over that scope, and so we did happily take over that scope. As a highlight to that, we just didn't do well on our due diligence of where that scope was. There was previous design work done, and as we got deeper into it, learned that the scope of that work provided to us changed. So we were able to incorporate it, but it was certainly probably the most interactive we had to be with the city of Durham in discussing schedules and costs, because that was a scope change to the project and one that did crunch us at the end, getting the certificate of occupancy while getting that last little bit of work done.
Thank you, Blair. This was an interesting project from start to finish. We had a great team of people working together. And what's great about working at Bobbitt is Blair Pittman, civil engineer, and myself, the architect, are literally 4 desks apart with landscape architects and the construction team close and nearby, allowing us to have that design build capacity all inside of one building. And that was very important for our client in terms of moving this project forward quickly. And this is not a signature station. This is a neighborhood station. The aesthetic of it was wanting to integrate with the community. It was very traditional. The major community that we're serving was an assisted living facility. So making sure that we integrated into community, the design was solid, and we had all of the facets for a 50-year plus facility. One of the major team members was the facilities manager and also a fire department member who wanted to make sure that the station can clean itself. This was administered by staff. There was no janitorial service. There were no other services that came in. And they wanted to make sure everything from the concrete paving used all the way around the building was durable, made sure we didn't have a heat island effect, made sure that when we turned around the building, there were no divots created. So a lot of those features were taken into account. Everything from the reflectance of the roof itself to the actually, we have a roof corral in there to have all of our HVAC units, so they're off the street and reducing a security risk. As you can see, the inside of the building is quite simple. Some of the materials that we used in there were terrazzo for the durability as well. Made sure that we had wall protection in appropriate places to make sure that that maintenance cost was kept to a bare minimum. We also integrated EV charging stations as well as dedicated parking spots for group bus systems if it was served. We also integrated in utility lockers to each one of the rooms, so there wasn't a lot of moving of things, and it allowed for 3 different sets of department members to use the same room, utilizing a smaller footprint but having a larger capacity. Next. As Blair said, solar panels were not part of the original budget. We had a tight budget. We had a tight time frame. We had a tight constraints in terms of the site since it was wedge shaped. So we made sure all of those components were utilized the best of the ability we could, and also planning for that future, which allowed those upgrades to be made. Luckily, we had a good project that ran on time, and we were able to speak with the city in terms of installing those solar panels, upgrading the project from a LEED silver to a LEED gold. One of the unique things that we had to take into account, because this is a fire station, was we have an emergency generator. So we have line power, we have emergency service generator, and we have solar power. And how do those three come together with our transfer switches to make sure that they have full power all the time? So we wound up being grid backed up. So the power went back to the grid before our generator. So everything worked directly off that transformer for the solar tied back there. And then we went to our transfer and generator system for the station. Next. Our lead strategy was really try to get the low-hanging fruit. What could we get from day one to do this efficiently and cost effectively to make sure that the owner got what they wanted? They met the LEED silver goal. We weren't doing cutting edge systems that may have maintenance issues, but we wanted to achieve those LEED points as efficiently as possible. One of those was the project was registered before LEED 4.1 was in effect. We wanted to make sure that we were in a known system so we could efficiently go through. And with our lead consultant for the enhanced commissioning, they helped guide us with what made the most sense for the station, and also work with the facilities again to make sure that the systems put in place could be maintained and easily kept online during emergencies. They wanted to make sure that if an HVAC system went down, fairly standard HVAC repair could service the equipment without having to have a delay for specialized people. The design build aspect really helped us through this process in terms of checking some of the lead decisions and pricing very early on, have a quick turn in terms of decisions made, design back to pricing to make sure we were on the right track. This allowed us to condense the schedule to what the owner said was put them in the station about a year earlier than what their traditional fire stations have been in terms of length of time from start of design to turning over the keys. Next, please. So we did steal some graphics from the ARC system. We did like them, but this is not an ARC building. We started off with just the low-lying fruit. Where could we get those credits? Some of the things that we didn't put emphasis on that we learned we should have were the regional priorities, where we can almost double dip for some of the points, and also some of the energy with the solar. We found that to be very helpful in terms of getting us to that next level when we achieved gold. Next. So you can see we went from 0 regional priority to 4 out of 4. That change really made a significant difference. And that solar aspect made a big difference as well. But again, the goal for the department was to get LEED, but the main goal was the life cycle, the durability, the ease of maintenance, making sure that this station was a durable, solid station meant for the firefighters to service themselves versus having cutting edge systems. We did take those into consideration and present them, but due to some of the maintenance issues over time and the uncertainty, we did decline some of the cutting edge pushing type systems that are out there. Next.
Okay. So from a site design standpoint and sustainability, like I noted, we didn't have a lot of the due diligence process to search out better pieces of property, orientation, grades, that kind of criteria. So what we really worked towards was controlling the density of the project. We worked so that we limited the disturbed area as much as possible. And this property, as it turned out, was at the peak of 2 regional stormwater basins, drainage basins. So we had water that flowed north and south, and we had to work a way to meet City of Durham's criteria for stormwater treatment. That, for the most part, is above and beyond the requirements of the LEED. So To that end, it worked in our favor, but having to find a spot to meet that while also working to limit our impervious and area on site disturbed did not work in our favor. The result was an underground sand filter picking up all of the impervious on site with limited open space draining to it from both subbasins, releasing to a single point in one subbasin, but controlling that peak flow to below pre-development for that subbasin. That said, we had almost 800 square foot or cubic foot, almost a whole building underground for that containment. That provided us what we needed for the TSS removal for LEED, provided us what we needed for the city of Durham for nutrient removal and peak flow, and kept it out of the way and limited our disturbed area on the site and allowed us to maximize our open space and landscaping.
Thank you, Blair. On the building side, we had a few issues that really helped us, and some that we learned and we will evaluate differently in the future. One was value engineering of the HVAC. We were working within the budget. There were some tight things with the HVAC, and we were looking at a hot gas reheat in terms of the heat system and cooling system due to our ERV. We didn't like the hot gas reheat because we were basically taking air and then putting heat on it to take some of the moisture out. So with that taken into the cost of it, the decision was to move forward without that system. Unfortunately, we found later on that we did have a moisture problem in the residential area with the showers and the ERV, that we actually stepped up and we said, we take ownership of this, and we took and put the correct HVAC system back in that area to make sure that the humidity was under control per the original design. Another great thing that we had was the MVP was wonderful in terms of coordination of all the various members and making sure, touching base and having that third party come in and touch base and see that things were actually being put in place correctly. Luckily they were, and Blair and I were happy to see that as well, in terms of making sure that all of the pieces and components that were specified were done great. Roy, our superintendent, did a great job in terms of following all of those pieces to make sure that it's not just paperwork for LEED, it is actual work in place done correctly. Another tool that we utilized a lot was a South Carolina product called Green Badger, which helped us do a lot of our paperwork in counting and product material assessment and calculations, patched it all into a single web tool that allowed us to ease a lot of the paperwork maintenance. If you are having trouble maintaining all of the product data, that is one product to take a look at that we found very successful for our project. And then we'll end, of course, with the roof pitch in terms of, we saw an opportunity. We always go for the low-hanging fruit, making sure that we have a roof, we have a great flat roof, we have a great metal roof that's durable. Let's orient it just slight enough to make sure that it's the optimal solar orientation. Then when we lay it flat, we're fully utilizing solar, if it's in the future or now that we had the luck to do. And I think that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you both, Brian and Blair, for that project. Lots of lessons learned. And just a reminder for everybody, we'll have time at the end for questions. So save those up, and we'll have time to chat as